welcome everyone to Agenda Finance for October 7th. Sorry we getting started late, we had some technical issues with our equipment here. So, item number 2 on our agenda is identification of media. There's none in the chambers and there's none online, so we're assuming there are some watching. So item number 3, I guess we should make a motion to accept the agenda. Maybe after item number 3, changes, deletions, or adoption of the agenda. Is there any items people want to add? Seeing none, you're going to have to let me know back there if Helen or show up. Or any questions? Yeah. Okay, so if there's no additions or changes to the agenda, can we have a motion to accept the agenda for October 7th? Moved by Audrey, seconded by Cynthia, all in favor? Carried. Okay, item number 4, will she be able to hear us? Is she online or is she off?
She's online.
Okay, our delegation today is Kylie Weiss. She's making an application to Jordan's Principal to help the application for Six Nations Minor Sports to participate in the Little NHL for 2025. Kylie, can you hear us?
I'm going to be doing the presentation for Kylie.
And
she will be doing the question and answer part. There's questions at the end.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Amy Miller. I don't know how to change my name. It is not teacher.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Unfortunately, we have some issues here, but we'll be able to hear you. And I think everybody
yeah,
has
it's supposed to be a slide presentation, but
everybody has access to it on their
okay.
computer, so but they can flip through it.
Okay, so good morning. My name is Amy Miller, and Kylie is also here, I believe. We are part of the planning committee for the community-wide group application to Jordan's Principal. Our planning committee consists of parents and like-minded individuals who are pursuing an application to attain funding for our youth to attend the 2025 Little NHL in Markham, Ontario. The application process consists of multiple steps, one being the support of our band council, as Six Nations Council has a contribution agreement already in place with Jordan's Principal. Without the support, we will not be able to receive funding. Our goal is to be able to relieve some of the financial barriers that come with attending this prestigious tournament. We hope that this encourages players who have not been able to attend prior years due to financial restrictions to now have opportunity to represent our community. This was supposed to go for slide 3. The Little NHL is a renowned showcase of youth Indigenous hockey, hosting 233 teams annually and more than 3,000 young players, with the support of over 10,000 First Nations families from the province of Ontario. This esteemed tournament is a presentation of both competition and recreation, uniting Native communities in celebration of their athletic achievements and culture, founded upon a tradition of 4 pillars: education, citizenship, sportsmanship, and respect. The Little NHL continues to give youth a platform to represent their communities with pride. This is for slide 4. Per player, we have estimated an amount of $2,526.03 we will be submitting for. This includes accommodation costs up to $1,036.48 from Sunday to Thursday. We have been in contact with multiple hotels to provide large group bookings and payment directly to the hotel for an easier check-in process. 1 room covered per family. $143.55 for gas to and from the tournament. This is calculated at 55 cents per kilometer for 261 kilometers from Michigan to Markham and back. Meals for each player and 1 chaperone for each day. $20 each for breakfast, $20 each for lunch, $50 for dinner, totaling $900. Team apparel was quoted at $396 per player from ILA Sports, plus $50 towards their team's registration. These figures were based off of prior Little NHL approved applications 100 players. In 2024, Six Nations sent 21 teams to the Little NHL with a max number of players per team, being 18 players and 2 goalies. This is 420 players. We factored in players who played for another reserve and those unable to attend due to financial restrictions, and that brought our number up to 500. The estimated amount we will be applying for will be $1,263. 63. I didn't say that right. $15. If approved, we will host in-person registration to obtain all necessary information from each application to submit to the Six Nations of the Grand River Finance Department for processing and payment. Once the final number of players is complete, we will submit to Jordan's principal for payment. Payments for apparel, hotel costs, and registration will go directly to the source. Families will receive funds closer to the tournament, which would include funds for meals and mileage once proof of Little NHL registration is shown. Slide 6. We are seeking a letter of support from Six Nations of the Grand River for the community group funding application to Jordan's principal for all our hockey team's players attending in 2025 Little NHL. The Six Nations Grand River assigned one of our local Jordan principal staff to support and assist our community's group application in order to meet our own submission deadlines of October 31st, 2024. Also further, that Six Nations of the Grand River Communications Department assists with promoting via the Six Nations Grand River social media platforms, newsletters, radio, newspaper, and space, etc. This application to raise awareness within the community and hopes that no team or player gets left out. And finally, that in the case our group application is approved, Six Nations of the Grand River will act as a flow-through mechanism as per the criteria of SNGR's contribution agreement in the funding distribution, and that the committee will work closely with Six Nations Grand River and finance team for a smooth, transparent, and accountable process. It should also be noted that up to 10% admin fees is available for the finance team to handle the total financial process and coordination.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from anyone? We have a question from Cynthia. Go ahead, Cynthia, and then Leslie.
Thanks.
Can you use your mic so they can hear you?
Thank you, ladies, for your presentation. I have a question for Jennifer.
Yes, Councillor.
It's just what I've heard, nothing particular to this application. There are issues with Jordan's principle in that the turnaround is such an extremely long time. I'm just wondering how, I hear we already have a contribution agreement, so would it be for enhanced funding? I'm just wondering about our ability to accommodate this pending approval from the feds, and then what's the turnaround for that?
You're correct in that that a lot of the time for Jordan's principal, we make claims and we make decisions in the forefront with the anticipation that Jordan's principal will reimburse us later. That typically takes a few months for us to get notification of the approval, and then the money flows after that. That being said, in the 3 years that I've been with council, I have not seen us move forward with the Jordan's principal application and not end up subsequently getting the funds.
Okay. And just follow up?
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Do you mind if I step in real quick?
Just a follow-up question. So we do have, I'm understanding, a cash flow to be able to carry this just in case, again, there's delays all the time.
Yes, from a cash standpoint, we would be in a good position to be able to carry it until Jordan's principal reimbursed us.
Okay.
Go ahead, Amy or Kylie, who's ever going to speak here.
I just want to jump in real quick on that question. So I have been speaking with the head office for the group applications, and the turnaround time for this kind of application is actually much faster than individual applications, which is why we went through this way instead of going through individuals. The individuals are almost a year wait. But if we, so the deadline that we set for ourselves was Halloween, and they even let us know if we can get the application to them by Halloween. They said there's really, off the record, they said there's really no reason why we shouldn't have an approval before Christmas. And that would be within a few weeks, the funds would be released. So potentially the end of January.
Thank you. We have a few more questions. We have Leslie and then Elena, and then Hazel. Go ahead, Leslie.
Thanks, ladies, for presenting that. I think that's ideal and awesome. I thought of it myself, but like just in terms of how it can help all the families and the teams, players out there. So, what's the age group? Sorry, I just didn't see that portion. Like, what are the ages for that with NHL?
So Jordan Principal only provides funding for children 18 and under. So it would be from the U7 teams, which is the youngest that we send teams for anyway, and up to U18.
And I was just wondering if you had any consideration for sending a truck, maybe that could assist with all the equipment that has to go, like goalies, and then they have their families that have to fit into the vehicles, and plus their luggage. Just a question.
That's not anything we really talked about so far. I think for insurance and liability, if something were to happen, and who would be responsible for covering the cost of that if anything went missing.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't really talked about that yet. But it's something I can definitely bring forward and see what their thoughts are to the committee.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you. Elena? If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good morning, thank you. My question is along the lines of responsibility. I'm wondering, because it's a group application and some of the funds will be dispersed once registration is provided, so before the actual event, who is responsible for ensuring that the families actually go? And not to say that anybody was going to take advantage of the situation or anything like that, but who follows up to make sure that everybody has attended that has received funding?
Hi, yeah, that's a great question. So we've actually discussed this already. I have been in communication with the little NHL president, Chico, and he is willing to work with us to make sure that once registration has closed in January, it's usually January 15th, once registration for the tournament has closed, we're going to work together to make sure that all of the teams provided, all of the players who are on the application are actually on a active roster for the tournament. If that player is not on an active roster by the 15th, then they would not be eligible for any funding.
Follow-up?
Go ahead.
So that's awesome that you guys are communicating that way, but after the tournament, right? So if somebody doesn't go for whatever reason, are they responsible to return that money?
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, so how it happened last year, I talked with another center in regards to their policy on that, and they have to provide, the family each has to follow up with receipts, so for whatever they're going for. So if we have, say, their mileage and their meals, all of those receipts need to be submitted. We submitted it to the Jordan principal who did the application last year, but this year it would be, I guess, up to what the finance team wants and how strict they want it to be. If it is the receipts for all of their gas and all of their meals, just to show that they were there. And that would just go to the person who is in charge of that, and it would go right in their receipts to show that yes, the money was spent on this that was delegated for that, like the meals and gas and whatnot.
Do you want to respond to the comments, Jennifer?
So from my understanding, Amy, or Kylie, what you're implying is that for meals and transportation that the families would be reimbursed after the event?
No, they would be given the money up front, and then they would have to just email or send up like the original copy of a receipt of what they spent it on. So just for example, so we did through Akwesasne last year, and through the week as we bought food, as we bought our breakfast and lunch or whatever, I would take a picture and I would just email it, and that it would get printed, get put into my file, so that everything through the week was all in my file. Just to show that yes, I used the money that was given toward this.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you for the clarification. So then I think where Councillor Lane is asking for is if we're giving, sorry, hold on a second. Thank you. If we're giving the funds for transportation and meals prior, and then we aren't subsequently receiving those receipts, then how do we get the funds back from that family?
What the program from Akwesasne had recommended was that when you do the in-person registration and you give the status card and you have all that, you sign a document there that any funds received through Jordan's Principle will have receipts followed up. In the event that there are no receipts given, that they will be accountable to pay all of that money back to Jordan's Principle or to the finance team or whoever is distributing the funds, that they will be responsible in paying that money back if receipts are not given.
Thank you. Any more follow-up, Elena?
Yeah, so in the case that they don't, is there a repercussion for that family? Are they no longer allowed to apply to Jordan's Principle?
Yeah, and that's in part of that letter that they signed was that they would no longer be allowed to apply for Jordan's Principle funds until their debt has been paid, basically.
Okay, thanks, Kylie.
Okay, Hazel, you have a question?
I want to know more or less a comment. I think this is a very good idea because I know a lot of the children have those tickets on a big board. Everybody's trying to sell their tickets to make money to go. And I didn't know that last year that Jordan's Principle helped some First Nations. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
So Six Nations didn't get any help. So I think it's fair that they have their names in there to get funding and help because it is costly. I think too that it's going to give the opportunity for more of our little people to be able to go. And I know the families, they thoroughly enjoy going there. I like going there myself. So I think it's great for our kids and I hope more can go this year. Thank you.
Audrey?
Good morning, everyone. My question has to do with once you put the application in and perhaps you may not get the amount of money that you're asked for, what is your backup plan? Are you intending on seeing the big businesses on the reserve, more fundraising, etc.? I think it's a very worthwhile project to do and I hope you get every cent.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to kind of cross that road when we come to it if we aren't approved for the amount that we're asking for. But I think at that point we would basically look at priorities. So priorities, we kind of talk about as a committee in whole for sure. This is just my thoughts on priorities would be accommodations. What also would be meals. I find would be a big thing. So I guess it depends on what we are approved for, and if there is a small difference, if it's a huge difference, then we'll have to relook at the budget based on what it needs to be covered. If there is a reasonable goal, then yeah, we would definitely be able to seek out local businesses to reach the goal that we had in order to get all of this covered for all players.
Thank you. Cynthia has another question.
Actually, ready to move on to recommendation.
I think we have a couple of issues here. One, we're looking for a letter of support, and I guess in that, I guess in regards to the actual staff-wise, I don't know, since Nathan's not here, I don't know if that's something you can look into, Jennifer, to see the availability of having a Jordan's principal staff worker be available to assist. Is that something you can do? I know Nathan's not here.
I can look into it. I don't have the information about that readily available, obviously, but I can look into it, yes.
And I guess the other one is for Daryl. I guess they're looking for your involvement as well, Daryl, to help promote this. If the council gives a letter of support. And then I guess the other issue is being the flow through. Is that going to be a concern for you and Jennifer and that?
We would definitely have to take a look at how we would staff 500 individual applications and then subsequently tracking receipts behind that. I would have to probably work with Nathan and rely on some of the admin staff and the secretaries to assist with some of that, depending on the volume. But I'm sure with it given enough lead time, then we could come up with a viable solution.
And just before you make the motion, Cynthia, Dean has one question or a comment. Or Elena, sorry. Go ahead, Elena.
Thanks, Dale. And thanks, Jennifer, for clarifying my question. I appreciate that. My one thought for Cynthia, if she's going to move it, would be pending all of these concerns, like a positive outcome with all of them. And then I had one more issue and I just lost my train of thought. Okay, go ahead without me.
All right. So, Amos, did you want a question separate outside the motion?
Yeah. Is there usually a report at the end that comes back to us financially and a narrative about how successful everybody was? Has there been?
Yeah, other than what people do themselves on their community and putting it in the newspapers and stuff, but I think maybe that might be something that can be required if we call this application. I'm not sure what the Georgia principal guidelines are or criteria that is required for that. So getting back to you, Cynthia, do you want to, based on Elena's comments, still move on a motion to
Remember what it was?
go ahead?
Because we're still working on the community donation grant and sponsorship policy, so that will be coming back to council. But should this application to Jordan's principal be successful for all of the budgeted items that these ladies are applying for, should these families not be eligible to receive money for Little NHL from the donation policy?
You're saying they would not be eligible?
Yeah, so if Jordan's principal is going to cover everything, we wouldn't want people to be double dipping really into that pot, right?
Yeah, that's
Do you mean for Little NHL or for the entire fiscal year?
No, just for Little NHL, so they wouldn't be able to put in an application for Little NHL.
I think that's an understanding, I guess we can create internally for that. And I guess Jennifer can work with that along with Nathan in regards to clarify who's who. So if there's no further questions. Cynthia, you still want to move on to motion to provide a support letter?
Yes, I do, but just a response in lieu of the statements that were just made. That was why at the very beginning I asked Jennifer the questions about our cash flow. And it seems that there's confidence like it will be funded. And I heard the ladies say their goal for themselves is to have this completed by the end of October, I think I heard.
Yes.
And noting that there's a 10% admin fee, that finance will be able to bring in if needed assistance to look after this particular project. I understand it's a lot of applications, but that was all part of the consideration. So yes, I would move.
So Cynthia moving on it. Audrey, a second motion that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council provide a support letter for the Jordan's Principal application for Six Nations application for the 2025 NHL. Okay, we'll vote on the motion first. We got the motion. Okay, before the vote, Dean wants to make a comment or a question.
Just a quick question. One, thank you for the presentation, but two, do you have the support letter ready, or are you waiting on us to create the support letter?
No, this would have to be created by council as it's coming from them. I don't want to assume anything, and I don't want to put any words into anyone's mouth.
Thank you.
Is there another question, Hazel? Okay, Hazel has one question before we actually vote, and after that we'll vote.
Could you please clarify when there's more than one child in a household? So each of those children, you're only gonna pay one accommodation, I would assume. They wouldn't get, or will they each get an allotment as things calculated?
So it will be one accommodation per family, as per the Jordan's Principal guidelines.
Okay.
However, one way that we have been talking with them to not really get around it, but to accommodate families here, because I let them know that we have families who, most of them are minimum 2 kids, so they are aware of that. So we are actually dealing with a hotel specifically out of Markham. They have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom, almost like a suite. And that provides a kitchen, there's even some, a little bit of laundry, there's 3 bedrooms, there's the bathroom, so that, those are going to be reserved for families that need all 3 rooms.
Okay, thank you.
And then that full accommodation will be covered, because the difference in cost will, per player, will allow for that full payment to be covered.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no further questions? Can we vote on the motion? Moved by Cynthia, second by Audrey. All in favor? Any objections? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The only thing I would ask from Amber and or Amy and Kylie is that you communicate directly with Jennifer or Nathan, and in particular with the letter of support, along with working with Daryl to have the letter drafted as soon as possible. And then, do you actually require it to be signed by the chief, or can Nathan sign it privately?
I can find out for sure. All they said it was just by bank council. They didn't say specifically one person, or as long as they have the okay to be a signing authority. I think that would be a question for the committee right now is, do Jennifer and Nathan have the signing authority to submit something like this?
I mean, they can sign it based on the fact that we make a motion to support the letter, just needs no requires the chief for that. So, but we have the motion that we can do that, and that's something you can clarify with Jennifer and Nathan as we move on. Okay?
Yeah, for sure. I can email them today, and as soon as I hear back, I can let one of them know.
Thank you. So can we move on second reading to get the letter in place? Moved by Cynthia, second by Audrey. All in favor? No objection. The motion is carried. Thank you, ladies, and good luck.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
So, item number 5 is the adoption of general finance minutes from September 16, 2024. And I think it's in your Dropbox. So that would be the minutes from September 16th, general finance. Is there any issues or comments in relation to the minutes? If not, can we have a mover?
I'll move on that.
Moved by Carrie, second by Cynthia. All in favor of approving minutes of September 16th? Okay, all in favor, motion is carried. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda is Wealth and Economy Committee recommendations. So I don't know if somebody's here wants to speak to those. Not sure. Who?
I think Jackie from tourism is up there. Jackie? Yeah, she's up in the hall. Do you want to bring her up? Who's on those in the corner? Leo? Is that it?
Okay, they just stepped out for a minute, ladies, to bring in Jackie to see if there's any comments or questions in relation to this resolution. Okay, we're just waiting for Jackie to come in late, just do it a few seconds. Morning, ladies. So we're on the recommendation or the motion that's been put forward to you guys in regards to the support of the application
Yes.
to the Board and Development or Growth Fund. Is that through the IDF?
It's through,
Well, I'll just let you speak to it, and then if there's any other further comment, you can speak to it. So go ahead, Jackie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, it's through the FedDev, so it's through the federal government, and in order for us to accept the funding, they need a VCR. So part of this application is to get tourism a welcome center. As you know, we used to have the tourism building on the corner of Highway 54 in Chiefsville that we no longer have. And with that, we're now renting the park pavilion in order to be able to host tours. If it's bad weather, sometimes like even in the hot summer, they need somewhere to cool off, eat lunch, different things like that. So part of it is the hospitality aspect, making sure that we're treating our guests properly and feeding them and doing all those things that we need to do to take care of them. Because we're renting the pavilion from the development corporation, that is cutting into our budget and our revenues from these tour groups. So we're looking at building our own building, being able to have a kitchen in there, being able to have our catering in there as well. And just have a welcome center, right? We don't really have a space where we can bring people in and welcome them, other than Woodland Cultural Center, which they get really busy and booked up. So yeah, we put in the application, and the application really covers the starting of the building. So it covers the archaeology, some of the groundwork and the drawings, which the drawings haven't been done yet. We're waiting to accept this funding and then go from there.
Thank you. I think Lena's online, and Lena, did you have a question?
I didn't know that Jackie was there. I was going to speak to it if Dean didn't want to. I know Greg's not there. But since you're there, Jackie, I wonder if you could share with council what the cost is for tourism to rent that pavilion, because I found that to be a large expense.
Yeah, so right now we're paying $200 for a half day to rent the upper pavilion, or $400 for a full day. So if it's only a group of 20 where, you know, the revenue is kind of cutting in, if it's a group larger than 20, we are making more revenue, so it does make sense, but at the end of the day, it would be nice to have our own building and not have to pay those fees.
Okay, Dale has a question.
Question to Dale after.
Okay, Helen.
Okay, when we went over to your location, and you were in that little house.
A little cabin, yeah.
Yeah, so during COVID, we had moved over to the larger building at Chiefswood Park where their park store is now. So we had a little bit of bigger space. We had a room where we could hold meetings and have about 10 people in, but still not large enough for a group. And when we were under the development corporation, we were still able to use the building. And then during the switch, we moved into the smaller cabin because it really didn't make sense for us to be beside the park store because we were filling in for park store staff. And it was just kind of odd to be stuck to them in that building. So we moved into the cabin, and we put signage up, but people still get confused over there. But really a lot of it came from the transfer.
Just to follow up to that. So since the building is no longer in your possession, have you met with NECDEP to sort of put a few dollars in the building this site that you want to develop?
I haven't requested anything, no. There have been conversations, not with me, but other conversations about us using the building in the interim. And from what I know, it has not been approved that we're able to use that building.
Okay, so just one more thing. I think if you're gonna have a building built for tourism, like to welcome people, you should put a gift store in there, because a lot of people are looking for that gift store.
Yeah.
And there's not one left on Reserve other than aircrafts, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be a great idea to do that.
Yeah, we used to have a gift store, but when Chiefswood Park opened, they started selling stuff, so we were trying to not double everything, but I think there are products that we could look at that wouldn't be the same as what they're selling in the store.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Dean, just before you go to my question, I guess just for information's sake, where is the location that you're proposing on having this facility?
Yeah, so it's in front of the Pauline Johnson home, so we have cleared the grounds there in order to be able to use it. We're looking at the back facing the trees and the forward facing the park. So it wouldn't be in the way blocking the house, but you'd still be there. And it'd also be helpful to the house because in some of the documents that I provided as well, there was a 1992 document that we found that talked about a visitor center and being able to, do different programming because the house can really only hold about 20 people at a time. And there's one washroom, it's a single washroom, right? So we're limited in our programming capabilities as well. So yeah, the thought was there, and there were other administrative buildings at one point in time that I know got transferred back and forth, but that building that was there was full of asbestos and got removed, so.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Dean.
I'll move on the recommendation.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, sorry, Alan, I forgot about you. Go ahead, Alan.
Well, so what I'm understanding is this $225,000 is just the beginning to get the building started. What is the total cost of this building that you're proposing? And where's the money gonna come from for that?
Yeah, we're looking at different funding sources, so the total of just a shell of a building would be 1.1 million is what we've laid out in the proposal to FedDev. We did have revenues that we generated last year within our budget, and we're generating revenues this year in our budget. We are also hoping that council would be able to allocate some funds, but we're not in the process of coming for a formal ask yet. And we were also looking at ISC, so Indigenous Services Canada. But the other part of it is there might be more tourism growth money as well. So we'd be looking at that first and foremost.
Okay, I think then Dean wants to move on.
Follow-up?
Say that again, Alan?
Just a follow-up.
Okay, go ahead, sorry, I didn't hear you, go ahead.
Well, I really think we need council needs to sit down and talk about this before we agree to do anything. Because we've already agreed to fund Governor School, we agreed to build Governor School, we agreed to build an hospice, we agreed to build, there's another building, I can't think of what it is right now, but we've agreed to build all of these things. Now, we may be being asked to build this building, we can't find funding. I think we really need to sit down and talk about this before we make a commitment to build anything else. Because I'm really concerned about all these commitments we're making. But so far we haven't done anything with them. I would want council to talk about it first.
Okay, Audrey, Elena, and then Amos.
Yeah, I agree that we need to talk about it a bit more because there seems, to me, there's too many unanswered questions for me. Economic development, have the building over there. How did you guys lose your seat in your tourism building? Who owns the land over there? Are you under a different committee? Separate from council's committees? So there's so many questions that I've just seen. Then the land availability, who sets that aside? Is that small committee or is it our Six Nations lands? So,
Yeah, which land are you talking about?
in front of Pauline Johnson where you want to build. I thought other people had their eyes on that spoiled land too.
Not that I know of, I hope not. We've managed the site, I believe it came under tourism in, I don't remember the year, it's been quite a while ago. It was, probably 2013 or 2014, it came under the tourism portfolio. At that point, the coordinator at the time moved into the economic development building. So we manage the site. It is owned by Six Nations Council, and there's also a board of trustees as well. And they've provided letters of support within the whole document that I provided.
So who do you take direction from?
I work under nation building.
Okay, it still doesn't. I'd like to talk about it sometime more.
Yeah, well, the thing with this, the BCR that we were hoping to get today is just to accept the $225,000, which we've already done some of the initial work. That due date is October 11th. All these things have due dates. I know it's taken this long to get here. All these things, they only give us 30 days to flip the agreement. But yeah, it's a phased project, and we're doing what we can with grant money as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elena?
Thanks, Dale. Thanks, Jackie, for clarifying that. Yeah, just for council's information, tourism, because of the renegotiated management agreement, tourism now falls back under council, so tourism comes to wealth and economy. Like Jackie mentioned, there is a due date on this application for the BCR to be provided, and the recommendation is not, so this was spoken about at Wealth and Economy, so the recommendation is coming from committee to full council to support the BCR for the funding to do the preparatory work. So this is not an agreement to build a building, this is not we're not looking for the funding right now to build the building. I'm sure Jackie will be putting in applications wherever she can in the future for that, but right now, like she said, groundwork has to be done to see what even can be done there. So the conversations have been had at committee for this particular purpose, which is why the recommendation is only for that. It's not for the bigger picture.
James?
Yes, I don't know the history of all of this, but I was just gonna ask a couple of questions. When did ACTA become landlords? And secondly, are they paying rent to the council for using that building? But I don't know that history. And now,
Dean can answer your question.
shouldn't have been in the management agreement, or whatever that thing we call it. It should have been that they were going to release, anyone that needed to use their buildings would have either a 50% the cost or free. That should have been discussed in the last council when that management agreement came up. Anyway, some questions I have. Sorry.
I
Dean
can
will respond to Amy's
I can answer just a bit on that. So, Wealth and Economy is looking at the management agreement, and we will be bringing that to council soon, but there are a lot of, different areas like that we should be discussing within council. That's all I'm gonna say right now, before we bring the full council board to discussion, because right now, we're talking about the current motion from us.
So just a follow-up.
Go ahead, Amy, follow up.
So this is for a feasibility design phase, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
looking for a grant for it?
Yeah, and archaeology and all that, all that prep work for the building, that's why we're going in phases, so
Okay.
really this is just the first phase.
Is there a mover?
I think Dean wants to move it, so he's from that committee. If you,
Second.
So Dean, if I can just ask you to read the therefore motion.
So therefore, SNGREC supports the application for $225,000 from the FedDev Tourism Growth Fund for the planning and site assessment of a new tourism facility.
So Dean moving on that, Elena is second to that. Can we, vote on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Any objections? Any objections online there? Are you objecting, Helen? You're on mute, I can't hear you.
But yeah, I was trying to unmute myself. Yeah, I'm going to oppose because I think we need to, even though it's only for the beginning of, the funding is for the beginning of working on doing a building, so there probably has to be some kind of commitment to the money that you're gonna use it for a building, so if we don't have a building, what happens to the $225,000?
I think my understanding is that money is gonna be utilized for, development of the site, archaeological, and then maybe.
Yeah, I know that, but if you do all of that, then the funders are expected to have a building when you get done.
I think part of your first phase is you're trying to get shovel ready on the
Yeah.
I just think council needs to talk more about these things than what we're doing, because we're committing a lot of money. And we do it in a council meeting for 5-10 minutes. I don't know.
Thank you. Hazel has a comment. The motion is on the floor, so we just gotta vote on it.
Yeah, I think that we need to be supportive for our tourism for this community, because, you know, there's a lot out there. There used to be busloads of tourists coming through here. And yeah, we do need to keep building up our tourism, and it's not gonna grow itself. We have to go in the phases that Jackie and them are suggesting. And I think once it's fully built, that you're gonna see income from that source. There's so many things you can do in tourism that generate people coming into your community. And I think that's where I am. I support what their request is. And I think we should always look in terms of building, letting it grow, and not just stay in a position of worrying about not having any money. It seems like that's our constant concern, is don't do anything, just stay where you are for years and years and years.
Ms. Embers.
Thank you. Last comment from, Melvin, and we're gonna vote on the motion.
Can I follow up with that? Yeah?
Go ahead, Helen.
Well, I'm not sitting here saying I don't support tourism, but I do support tourism. But my concern is council committing all of this money without doing a whole lot of thought and thinking. And it's not just tourism, it's for everything else that we're just constantly, you know, I'm sorry if Hazel thinks I'm just constantly worried about money, but that's what I'm here for. That's why I got elected, to look after the money, and if I'm worried about money, then that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not gonna just sit here and hand over money for everything but that's what we're doing. We're doing all these commitments for money without doing a whole lot of thinking behind it. And I'm sorry, but that's why, for me, that's why I got elected, is to look after the community's money.
Thank you, Helen. I think the motion on the floor is to support this application for external money. Right now, council will not be allocating anything to this. Is that we're supporting your application for the money.
She made some of it
Yeah, no,
supporting tourism because I'm worried about the money. But I do support tourism. I used to sit on the board for years. So it's just that, for me, our responsibility is looking after the money.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, Malva?
Yeah, this has been confusing ever since tourism was turned over to Six Nations Elected Council. We visited their building. They're cramped in that building. That's not a good thing. We haven't expanded our tourism to actually promote, for example, culture, language, and who we are as people. I think Matt had mentioned that too, when he mentioned that tourism would be turned over. And we have had some discussions about tourism and how it needs to expand and outreach to Niagara, Brantford, other areas, so we can have tourism that is similar to off the reserve. So I certainly agree with the $225,000, and hopefully they'll expand their services, because we should have buses coming here to the Longhouse, at least outside the building. Have people talk about our history, about our prophecies, all those kind of things of who we are as people. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion is on the floor. We're ready to vote. I know there's a couple comments here, one from Dean, one from Cynthia, and I'll be after that, we're voting. Thank you.
I was just gonna call a question because I thought we were already in the process of the voting. So, there you go, I said I thought so as well, so. Yeah, we're gonna vote.
Okay, questions been called, so we'll be voting on the motion to support this application for $225,000 to the Fed/Develop Tourism Growth Fund. All in favor of the motion? Any objections?
Object.
One objection is noted from Helen. Motion is carried. Waiting on second reading. Want to move on second reading, I mean? Dean moves.
Second.
Second by Elena. All in favor? Carried. And we'll note you as objecting to the second motion, second reading, Helen. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
We're done.
Here's my handout, you might be able to use it somewhere.
This is how we solve some of these problems.
Okay, Audrey wants to make a comment. Thank you.
Just a recommendation. I think that councilors need to give us more information when they come in here. We shouldn't have to ferret out the information by asking questions over and over again. Because you know it doesn't necessarily mean the rest of us know it. Everybody here is for tourism. But it's just all the rest of it, land, who's responding to who. All those questions I asked, that everybody asked here, those questions should have come in from a counselor. They should have let us, I believe, council know ahead of time, or it should have been in that briefing note, but it would have been nicer to hear it from councilors, that this was coming in and giving us all the background for it, so this motion could have come in and been dealt with because we already had the background to it. And as I say, it would be very helpful. Yeah.
But then the Dropbox, Audrey, there is a briefing note that has a lot more detail. So it does explain a lot of this stuff. Yeah, so it is in there.
I look forward.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have fire services. And Mike Seth is here to speak to that. Go ahead, Mike. You're on.
Did I look good, Mike? I'm ready.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm here to request council's permission to approve our 10-year dispatch agreement with the city of Brantford. It's already been at community committee and approved at that level. And we don't have capacity here at Six Nations to capital investment for us to do it on our side is not worth doing a capital investment. So I've asked for that approval, and briefly notes in front of you. Do you want me to read that? The therefores?
You can, yeah. Go ahead, Mike. If there's any other comments, Rick, before he reads that therefores, and then we'll have someone move on. Or whereas, and then someone from the committee can move on the therefores. So, Mike, go ahead. And just so you know, there is again, like Mike stated, there is a briefing note that has a lot more detail in there that shows all the costs and everything not out. So maybe you can just touch on that, just for information's sake as well.
Okay, all the costs are included in that. We have a municipal type of service agreement through us, so 90% of those expenses are recovered on an annual basis. We're probably sitting at about 95–96% being recovered at this point, and there's no plans of reducing it. So all of our funds are basically covered on all of this. So you want me to do the whereas first?
Yeah, do the whereas.
Whereas the city of Brantford has been providing excellent emergency dispatch services to the Six Nations of the Grand River for the last 6 years, whereas Six Nations of the Grand River do not have the capacity to build a center within the organization, and whereas the provision of emergency dispatch services are vital to the community for access to fire and emergency services. Any questions or comments before I jump into that, of course?
Okay, Hazel has a question.
The ones that transferred from here, are there any still working out there, the dispatchers?
No, we have no dispatchers.
Remember we transferred some of them and some were gonna go up there and be a dispatcher, so are there?
We did transfer.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to move it.
Nobody's qualified to go.
Yeah. Did you have a comment, Noah?
Well, it's pretty well the same as Hazel's, and I always wonder, and more with complaints in the community concerning getting outside people to do the job inside the community, wonder if any training is going to be happening concerning dispatch services. I remember, I think it was Rusty that was a dispatcher for a long time. Thanks.
Do you want to respond?
We don't actually do the training internally. The training is a post-secondary certification at this point. Different communities are able to put that on, and we can't even get local people to volunteer for fire services or apply for career jobs that want to do dispatch.
Okay, Amos has a question, and then we'll have one Dean move on to their post.
I remember a long, long time ago, they used to use this term mutual aid agreement. Is this like part of that, or is that now archaic, that term?
No, mutual aid agreement is completely separate. It's a provision of fire protection services. So if we need tanker support or personnel support, we are able to move them back and forth and maintain our qualifications with their qualifications, and it's this reciprocal service agreement. This is a specific contract.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike will have Dean move forward on the therefores, and then after Dean move, we can have somebody can second the therefores.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dean.
No problem, thank you. So therefore be resolved that the acting fire chief requests the community review and approve and move to the general council meeting for full approval of the attached multi-year emergency dispatch agreement with the city of Brantford. Therefore be resolved, the Six Nations of Brantford Borough Council approve the acting chief executive officer and the chief financial officer to bind the organization into this multi-year agreement in all the law.
Second by Leslie. I just have one comment. If we put in there instead of general council, we have general finance, just add general fund, because this is a general finance meeting, so just add the word finance in there. And in the second, therefore, that you said 10-year, right? A multi-10-year agreement is what that, so we can just add those into the motion. That's okay?
That's fine.
Leslie, okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So the motion is on the floor. First and second, can we vote on the motion?
Question.
Okay, any objections? None online? No objection, the motion is carried. And can we also move on to second reading? Moved by Dean, seconded by Leslie, to have second reading on a motion Dwight. Okay, item number 8, ISC comprehensive funding agreement. Amendments 133 and 135, and Jennifer will speak to those.
Thank you, Councillor. So item number 8 is comprehensive funding agreements for amendments number 133 and 135, whereas Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council has entered into a 5-year comprehensive funding agreement with Indigenous Services Canada, and whereas comprehensive funding agreement amendment numbers 133 and 135 have been received for council approval and signatures. So therefore be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approve and sign the following comprehensive funding agreement amendments number 133 and 135 for fiscal year 2024-2025 between His Majesty the King and Right of Canada, as represented by the Minister of Indigenous Services, and the Six Nations of the Grand River. Amendment includes additional funding for the following departments, programs, or projects. So Indigenous Health Equity Fund for $1,874,163. First Nations School Food for $79,525. Elementary and secondary provincial school food for $218,563. Six Nations Solid Waste, $322,875, and Jordan's Principal Education Assistant Support Workers for $3,404,346.
Someone want to move on that? Moved by Amos, second by Cynthia. Okay, got a question before we vote, Amos?
Just a comment. I know these are
Can you move
amendments.
your mic down to it?
Sorry. I know these are amendments, and I of course, I'm going to move on it. But it's just like, could you have in brackets next time what the original agreements stated, the numbers? Because these are amendments to increase, right?
Maybe you can explain this full.
Yes, so these are amendments either to add them into the agreement because they've been in former agreements and this is the first time that maybe they're showing up for the current fiscal year, or they're adding to amounts that we have already received. And in the support documentation that you get with it, it does state the full amount as restated of now this amount will be that amount. I do understand that it is an excessively long document. However, all of that information is on the documentation that's there.
Any further comments? Even just, I guess when that contribution comes, it's a contribution agreement. So anytime new money comes, they call it an amendment. Even though the money may not come at this point, it might come 4 or 5 months later, so they just call it amendments. So it's just a big contribution agreement, that's why they just say amendments. But so they're not necessarily, there's like $1 million and then they're adding 200,000 to $1 million. No, it's just a big contribution agreement for all the funding and programs and services for council in general. Was there any more comments?
Question.
Bobby?
Yeah, Jennifer, are these the only 2 sources of funding for food? Is there anybody else who's getting funding for food at Six Nations?
I would have to come back to you with information on that. These are the amendments that where the food is there. I imagine no, that the answer is no, absolutely not. However, these are just the amendments that are happening at this moment.
Yeah.
Okay, Amos moved on it, Cynthia seconded, all in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. Can we do a second reading on that? Moved by Amos, second by Cynthia, all in favor? Carried, no objections, and I think, do you have the agreement to sign, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna bring the agreement around for people to sign. Okay, well, we're going to have, we'll go to item number 9 on the agenda, which is, Moon Gala, October 7th, 2024. That's the only thing I didn't see that. Any background information on that? Brett, go ahead.
In August, Council used General Finance, you approved a motion to purchase a table. So I went ahead and purchased the table and they sent back this form that they need to know the names of who's going to be attending. And it's all
It's at Mont Hill Golf and Country Club on October 17th. Doors open at 6, event starts at 6:30. And they bought one table? Yeah, no, table of 8. So a table of 8 at the Mont Hill, which is the Aboriginal Health Center in Bradley. Go ahead, Beck.
And when you agreed to purchase the table, you said if there wasn't enough councillors wanted to go, you would just give it to staff.
What date is it again?
October 17th at Mont Hill Golf and Country Club. So right now, this was already approved by council a while back, so all we're now is looking for a name. So is there councillors here that wish to attend that event? Dean, Leslie, Melba, Amos, and Audrey. Only that. So any other councillors, anybody online? Helen? Yeah. Helen, did you want to?
I can't get on, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm having difficulties with my phone. No, I don't want to go.
Elena?
No, I'm okay. Should I go to, health stuff?
Okay. I guess we're just unsure with, the chief and,
In surgery with those.
so there's 3 more? 3 more spots left.
We got, Dean, Leslie, Melba, Amos, Audrey, and Hazel.
Which is how many? 6.
Cynthia.
No, I don't want to go.
Cynthia. So there's 2 more, so what Beck will do is she'll confirm with the chief and Greg if they want to attend. If not, then it will go to health staff.
What time is it?
Starts at, doors open at 6, the event starts at 6:30, October 17th. All right, so Beck, we'll leave you to follow up with that and take care of it. All right. You don't need no motion, because it's just local.
No.
Yeah. All right, so we'll leave that with Beck, with our names given, and then she'll confirm with Greg and the chief if they want to go. If not, then she'll offer it to staff. There was no new items added to the agenda, so we can have a motion to adjourn and go to the in-camera agenda. Moved by Cynthia, second by Melba, all in favor. Carried. All right. 5-minute break for fresh air for Cynthia.